Hello, students, and welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about physical motivation. Physical motivation. So, motivation is a need or desire that energizes us and directs us towards some goal. There are different types of motivation that we will discuss. Today, we're going to discuss physical motivation, but there's also cognitive motivation and social motivation as well. The image you see here is one of Aron Ralston. Aron Ralston found the motivation to cut his own arm off when he was trapped in between two rocks in Utah in 2003. What do you think motivated him to do this? Was it hunger? Was it a drive to survive? Was it the drive to reproduce? What motivated him to do this? Was it hunger? Was it a drive to survive? Or was it some other drive, maybe reproduction? What do you think? The different perspectives on motivation. So we'll talk about instinct theory from the evolutionary perspective. We'll talk about drive reduction theory, optimum arousal theory, and the hierarchy of needs, which we'll discuss in a future presentation. So there's lots of different ways of thinking of motivation and how it works. There's a push or a pull process, and a lot of it has to do with cultural forces and things like that. Instinct theory. So instinct theory basically says that all humans have the same motivations due to our similar biological programming. So this theory basically says that the root of all motivations above anything else is survival. But do instincts direct human behavior? So again, just another definition, an instinct is a fixed pattern of behavior that is not acquired by learning and is likely rooted in our genes and in the body. So some examples of this, humans may have a general nesting instinct, but the specific behavior is less predictable. So the bird can only build one kind of nest, but humans can decorate a baby's room in a variety of ways. They might also use this general instinct to make simple repairs or to buy a home. From the evolutionary perspective, so other species have genetically programmed instincts motivating their actions, but what about humans? So human babies do show certain reflexes, but our behavior is less prescribed by genetics than other animals. We may, however, have general patterns of behavior which may be explained as emerging through natural selection. Instinct theory has given way to the evolutionary theory in explaining human behavior. So instinct theory is more sort of rolled into the evolutionary theory now. Drive reduction theory. Drive reduction theory refers to the idea that humans are motivated to reduce these drives, such as eating to reduce the feeling of hunger. This restores homeostasis, and homeostasis is a steady internal state. Looking at this image here, we start with homeostasis. And remember that homeostasis is directed by the hypothalamus. Think of it like a teeter-totter. So when homeostasis is in balance, when we experience biological equilibrium, the teeter-totter is perfectly balanced. But when the hypothalamus detects an imbalance, the teeter-totter also becomes imbalanced. This gives rise to a biological need, hunger, thirst, needing to go to the bathroom, whatever, which gives rise to a drive. And so a drive is this internal state of tension. So we create some sort of goal. We're like, okay, we have to go get food or something like that. Then once the drive is reduced, by, in this case by eating, our need is satisfied and we go back to homeostasis. We're going to watch a video about drive reduction theory now. The physiology of hunger. There's a complex relationship among the stomach, hormones, and different parts of the brain. So in a classic experiment by Washburn, he swallowed a balloon which would measure his contractions of his stomach. And each time he felt hungry, he pressed a button. And he basically found that feeling hungry causes stomach contractions, but the feeling can happen even if the stomach is removed or filled with a balloon. How the body talks back to the brain. So hormones travel from various organs of the body to the brain, specifically the hypothalamus, which conveys messages that increase or decrease appetite. So any of the hormones that you're seeing here in green increase hunger, while the red ones decrease hunger. Insulin is secreted by the pancreas, which controls blood glucose. It converts it to stored fat. As glucose increases, insulin is secreted, which brings glucose down. Leptin, on the other hand, is a protein secreted by fat cells. When abundant, metabolism increases and hunger decreases. Orexin is a hormone secreted by the hypothalamus, which increases hunger. Ghrelin is the I'm hungry hormone, which is secreted by the stomach. So when your stomach is empty, it releases ghrelin. Think of ghrelin like growling, like your stomach growls when you're hungry. And PYY is the hormone secreted by that digestive tract, which tells you I'm full. The hypothalamus and hunger. So we have receptors throughout the digestive system, which monitors levels of glucose and sends signals to the hypothalamus in the brain. Now, it's important to note that the hypothalamus is actually divided into two parts, the lateral hypothalamus and the ventromedial hypothalamus. The lateral hypothalamus is what tells us to eat. It's the hunger-causing part of the hypothalamus, whereas the ventromedial hypothalamus is the I'm full part of the hypothalamus. Or you can think of lateral as the green light and ventromedial as the red light. So when we're looking at the mice in the image, the mouse on the right had his ventromedial hypothalamus damaged through lesioning. And what occurs is a mouse who is constantly hungry, but their hypothalamus, specifically the ventromedial hypothalamus, is never sending the message to stop eating. So they just gain more and more weight. So one easy way to remember the difference between the lateral hypothalamus and the ventromedial hypothalamus is lateral makes you fateral, and ventromedial is just a word I don't even want to say. So I start saying ventromedial hypothalamus and I'm just like, ventro, stop, just stop. That's how I remember the difference between the two. The basal metabolic rate is the amount of energy expressed in calories that a person needs to keep the body functioning while at rest. Some of these processes are breathing, blood circulation, controlling body temperature, cell growth, brain and nerve function, and the contraction of muscles. When a person's weight drops or increases, the body responds by adjusting hunger and energy use to bring weight back to its initial stable amount. Most mammals, without even consciously regulating, have a stable weight to which they keep returning. This is known as their set point. A person's set point might rise with age or change with economic or cultural conditions. Therefore, this set point of stable weight is more of a current but temporary settling point. How much do we eat? So eating really depends on situational influences. So there's social facilitation. In this case, the presence of others accentuates our typical eating habits. It makes us eat more. So like when we're around friends, close friends or something, we might eat more than we would normally. Unit bias. Essentially what this means is depending on the size of the portion, that's how much we eat. The larger the portion, the more we tend to eat. And then the buffet effect. We eat more if there are more options available. The biopsychosocial influences on eating. So we have biological influences, which we've kind of talked about. So like the hypothalamus, appetite causing hormones and things like that, how the stomach feels, our weight or our settling point. We have a natural attraction to sweet and salty tastes, for example. There's a survival benefit to that. We have psychological influences such as the way food smells, the way it looks, the variety of foods available, our memory since the last time we ate, our stress and our mood, and of course the unit size. And then of course the socio-cultural influences. So basically socially learned taste preferences. So for example, in some South American countries, they love to eat guinea pigs, but that's not something that we eat here in the United States. But there's also responses to cultural preferences for appearance. So basically in some cultures, the more like eating more and being overweight is a sign of wealth and prosperity or reproductive fitness. It just depends on the culture that you grew up in. Variations from the norm of body weight. In some cases, the set point of a person's body weight drifts from a healthy weight. Psychological disorders of eating can override this set point or allow us to ignore signals and lead to extreme weight loss. In some other cases, the set point seems to drift upward. Biological tendencies in other cases, the set point seems to drift upward. Biological tendencies can lead to increased weight, and that makes it hard to lose, leading to obesity. Obesity refers to an amount of body fat that increases the risk of health problems to the point that weight loss is a health priority. So if you're interested, you can figure out what your BMI is according to this. So as long as you know your height, and then your actual weight, you can find out if you're underweight, healthy, overweight, obese, or morbidly obese. So obesity, especially prolonged obesity, is linked to diabetes, heart problems, arthritis, and some cancers as well. Obesity and life expectancy. So what you're looking at here is your body mass index with risk of death index. So notice when you're underweight or we have a low BMI, you're at a slightly higher risk of death. But as you get into the healthier ranges of BMI, so like around 20, 22 to about 28, you'll notice that dips, which means you can prolong life. And then the higher your BMI, the greater the risk of death as a result of your obesity. Obesity and weight control. So how does obesity develop and why is it hard to change? So it was adaptive for our ancestors to crave energy-rich food when it's available. The problem is that energy-rich junk food is now easily available and cheaper than healthy food. So what was once rare in nature is now abundant for us. So it is adaptive to slow down our burning of fat when food is scarce. The problem, in poverty or in crash diets, our body can slow down weight loss. So dieting essentially can temporarily cause us to lose weight, but as soon as we go back, our set point returns. The physiology of obesity. Once a person is obese, losing weight is not so easy. The physiology of obesity. Once a person is obese, losing weight is not so easy as just eating less. Fat has a lower metabolic rate than other tissues, so a person might gain weight when eating normally. Eating less to lose weight slows your metabolism, so this prevents weight loss and ensures weight gain when returning to a normal diet. Even if weight loss succeeds, a formerly obese person will have to eat less than an average person just to prevent weight gain. The social psychology of obesity. Discrimination based on weight has been found to be stronger than race and gender discrimination. In one study, actors were seen as less employable when made to look heavier. Even children are prejudiced against the overweight. Perhaps as a result, people who are obese are more likely to be depressed or self-isolate. The genetics of obesity. Adopted siblings eating the same meals end up with a BMI weight resembling their biological parents, not people in the same household. Identical twins have similar weights even when raised apart with different food. There seems to be many genes with effects on weight. And then lifestyle factors and obesity. People who are restless and fidgety burn off more calories and gain less weight than others. Inadequate sleep causes weight gain despite increased active time because of appetite hormones. Having an obese friend correlates with becoming obese as well. And then a sedentary lifestyle and fast food may be leading to increased body fat worldwide. Losing weight, the challenge. Because of the physiological factors and perhaps due to lifestyle and peer issues, once obese, weight loss is very difficult and permanent weight loss is even harder. Obsessive weight loss attempts can add to shame, anxiety, depression, and disordered eating habits. Losing weight, the plan. If you decide to move your body's set point to a lower body weight, you need to begin with an understanding of the metabolic changes you face so that you blame slow progress on physiology rather than on your willpower. You need to begin with self-acceptance and a decision to change rather than feeling ashamed. And the key here is make gradual and consistent, not drastic and varying lifestyle changes. Increase exercise and healthy food choices, get support, and drink water. I know that seems silly and obvious, but it really does help. Arousal theory. So arousal theory suggests that humans are motivated to seek an optimum level of arousal or alertness and engagement in the world. Humans seek an optimum level of arousal. So arousal or engagement in the world can be a product of anxiety, surprise, excitement, interest, fear, and many other motivations. So looking at the GIF here, although this seems risky and sort of stupid, why do people engage in this behavior? Well, optimum arousal theory would suggest that some people need a higher level of stress in order to perform well or be comfortable. It explains why people like horror movies or they skydive or something like that. Just another way of looking at optimum arousal theory. People are driven to perform actions in order to maintain an optimum level of physiological arousal, but it varies from person to person. This is also sometimes known as the Yerkes-Dodson law. So what we have here in the graphic is if the stress is high, performance is low. You become anxious, you become disorganized. If the stress is low, your performance is also low because you just get lazy, tired, you sleep, whatever. So the idea here is you have to have just the right amount of stress, which can get you the highest level of performance without pushing a person over the edge one way or the other. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I have for you today. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a fantastic day.